right now it's a mirror, but I'm gonna do it like
Wow.
polished metal or something. My name is Juan Diaz.
All right. And where were you both born and raised?
I was born in Bogota, Colombia, in South America, and I moved to the United States in 1995 when I was 13 years old.
All right. What did you think when you moved here?
It was a shock
Yeah.
because coming from a third world country, I thought I was going to be behind in education. It was shocking just because coming from a third world country to the top country in the world, I just imagined that my education would be behind, way behind.
Oh, yeah.
But and even though I had to learn the language when I arrived here,
Of course.
by 10th grade they were still teaching, and I was in classes with American students,
Yeah.
and they were teaching 2+2, which was very shocking to me.
Wow.
So things like that were shocking, but it was quite a change. And painting really tied the type of character and persona that I am is exhausting.
Yes.
Like I'm tired
I agree.
when I would finish painting like that.
Yeah.
And I remember I was thinking, I need to loosen up. I need to
For
and
sure.
I remember I was feeling this way, and I remember I was looking through a newspaper. I don't remember which, and there was a small article, and what caught my attention was the image, which was one of Marcus's work. And it was a lot of movement, a lot
Yeah.
of motion. But and I read the article, but I remember thinking, if I ever get a chance to meet this artist must be very dark. Not because the painting was dark,
Yes.
just because there
The
was a
subject
contrast.
matter, yeah,
The contrast,
yeah.
you know. And when I met him, it was different than what I thought.
Okay.
Just because, and when I met him, and then throughout the years, I just understood that all of the emotions he makes sure to place him on the work.
Yes.
And then he's very light. I mean,
Mhm.
if you get deep into conversation, we could talk about some strong topics.
Absolutely.
But in general, he's very light.
Yeah.
He's very warm. And then I got to meet Marcus's dad, which was great. He's a historian, and I love history.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
world history.
Yeah.
Very warm. So that was
Yeah.
amazing. And that's when I met his kids. I met the mother of his children.
Yes.
And I got to interact with Marcus, got a little bit of a glimpse of his studio, which used to be a garage,
Wow.
their home garage.
Yeah.
And then from then, I think he got to see me as well, just genuine, just
Yes.
as I am. And then, I mean, imagine you meet an artist that is like world recognized. And I mean, he has continued to grow.
Yes.
But when I met him, he was already recognized globally. And then he's so humble. too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Because
That's the thing.
in the art world, there's a lot of huge egos. And most of the times, egos are more part of like the early stages of art.
Yep.
But there are some big figures that are very egocentric, and
Mhm.
Marcus is not one of them.
No. Let's see. I heard you worked with Marcus. If so, in what capacities and for how long and doing what?
Well, I live in Naples and he lives in Fort Myers. So I think part of the friendship was many times costs in the art world are quite high.
Oh yeah.
And so many times, for example, if we needed to transport some works, one time I drove, I think maybe $500,000 worth of his art
Wow.
to San Francisco after a hurricane.
Oh man.
And that took like 7 days, but I was honored that he entrusted me with that.
Absolutely.
But he knows how I am.
Yeah.
And he knows that, I mean, again, we as humans, we are nothing in some way. And it's our work as artists, our work is what goes on.
Mhm.
So I have tremendous respect for not just concepts and ideas, but the work of an artist, being an artist myself.
Yes.
So I was honored that he entrusts me with transporting his work, representing his work many times.
So describe Marcus when it comes to his art, and how did he, if at all, influence you? I know you had mentioned that you saw his work in a magazine when you were feeling like you needed to loosen up and express yourself a little, but...
Well, as an expressionist, I think I could lean, but because I never went to school, I don't have one specific style. And because I'm constantly exploring as well. So, but seeing his work meeting the person, knowing his history.
Yeah.
It gives me an insight of why he works the way that he does, why he paints what he paints, the subject matter. And I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of the person, and I'm appreciative of the mission he has in his work because of the person that he is and what he has endured.
Yeah.
You know, and many times, for example, even the most recent works, that I feel that he's standing up for me as well. There's many things that I still want to do, but I haven't, just because of maybe my placement.
Of course.
And hopefully I'll get to do them. Hopefully, I don't know anything, but having a friend that is so daring, so it doesn't matter. It's just being so genuine to himself.
Yeah.
It's like a constant reminder. Okay, I need to go back to those spaces.
Yeah. All right, so you set up his studio in the Bronx together. When was that, and what do you remember from that time?
That was 2019, and that was right before the pandemic. Actually. And I remember I was driving. It was almost like New Year's. It was between Christmas and New Year's, and I drove part of his studio, and we met at the Bronx. And that was interesting because I've never been at the Bronx. In the Bronx, I've been in Manhattan twice.
Different.
It's quite different, yeah. But at the same time, it was familiar because I come from Bogota, which is raw. I mean, where I grew up, the neighborhoods, they were very raw.
Yeah. Very
raw. So it felt familiar. Like cities feel very familiar to me as well.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that was good.
Which goes back to the human piece as well. You know, it doesn't matter where you are, but that's what it is.
Correct.
Cool. So you were also responsible for setting up the Southampton show at the Guide Hall for his film debut. Tell us about that.
That was interesting because it's quite a contrast. Imagine, at the Bronx is one thing, Manhattan is another thing, but now to think of the Hamptons, you know. Even though I live in Naples, which is quite, you know,
Florida's equivalent. Yeah.
Correct. So driving into the Hamptons and just I love history, but I love to just explore places, see like the original, as the oldest structures that exist in an area. So driving into the Hamptons and going to the Guild, and there is another aspect too of, like, for example, the times that I've been able to assist Marcus in transporting works or transporting works and installing them and representing him while he arrives, because of the name that he has.
Yes.
There is a certain respect that you're given because you're attached to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I arrived to the Hamptons, I've myself, I carry myself. I'm a clean cut type of guy. I'm educated. I love to learn. I'm endlessly curious, and I treat people like I want to be treated. So, but having the Marcus Jansen name and then you representing, you carrying his work is a different thing. So, so it was an amazing experience at the Guild. People treated me excellent, and I try to always, I think, represent them to the highest standard. You know, I am myself trying to have my work in museum collections. I've shown in a handful of museums. Yeah. So I was just trying to represent them at the higher standard.